Hey guys, what is up? It is Gabe from the Gabe Show, and we're here today with the first ever, absolutely first one we're doing, Reaction Tuesday. What is Reaction Tuesday, you might be asking? Well, let me tell you. Reaction Tuesday is going to happen every Tuesday until I decide to stop it. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to pick a YouTube video, like a top 10, top 15, top 20 kind of situation, right? And we're going to react to it, because why not? Might as well. Today, we're doing the top 10 mansions nobody will buy. Next week, who knows? Top 10 almost deadly F1 crashes. Top 10 almost deadly sport accidents. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? I don't know what it's going to be. But it'll be something. It's going to happen every single Tuesday. Every Tuesday. Whether it's a 5-minute video, 10-minute video, 20-minute video. It's going to happen. Whether you like it or not. I'm going to like it. So you might as well too. And if you do, go ahead and hit the like button. Who knows? It might be awesome. Let's get into it.
So you're in the market for a mansion, but your budget is limited. Very, very, very limited. Well, good news. There are mansions out there that could be yours.
My budget is very, very limited. Is your budget limited too? Probably. Let me know down below.
For as little as $1. But a deal that seems too good to be true tends to come with a catch, or consequence. Let's take a look at 10 mansions no one seems to want to buy at any price. 1. Former mayor's house in Jordan, Minnesota. Many of the entries on this list have had trouble selling because they're downright spooky, but this first house is not one of those haunted mansions. This one remains on the housing market for a much more earthly problem. The 4-bedroom mansion, formerly the home of the first female mayor of Jordan, Minnesota, is zoned incorrectly and needs to be moved. It has no parking and no hookup to the town's water and sewage system. And to make matters worse,
I just want to know how, as the mayor, the top elected position for your city, you zone your house wrong. How did you zone your house wrong? No parking, no water hookup, it has to be moved? You're the mayor. It's literally your job to write this stuff into your city law. And you did it wrong. How? Man, these people are crazy.
while the outside looks lovely, the inside is more than a little out of style. That's how the house ended up with its unusual price tag. It's free. The current owner, the granddaughter or former mayor Gail Anderson, said in an interview that it's going to cost $50,000 to move it and $150,000 to fix it up. So I'm not giving away some gem. No indeed. But free is still pretty cheap for a house of this size and historical interest.
We'll get it.
Even if it does come with some fairly significant catches. 2. The S.K. Pierce Mansion. This beautiful Victorian home is located in Gardner, Massachusetts, in a tiny part of New England, yet it never seems to sell for market price. Why? Because it's considered one of the most haunted places in America. Built by wealthy businessman Sylvester Pierce in the late 1800s, this nearly 7,000 square...
Okay, but like, is it haunted, or is it haunted? Like, we gotta know these things going into it. Like, is it, I go to bed at night and then wake up in a puddle of blood kind of haunted? Or is it, oh, a couple cups fall off the shelf every now and again? What kind of haunted are we talking about? Is it, see, the actual form of hell incarnate in the corner of the room when I wake up with sleep paralysis? Or is it gets a little cold in the kitchen sometimes. It's just Jeffrey. We gotta know these kinds of things, man.
Foot mansion was built as a dream home for the furniture magnate, his wife, and son. Unfortunately, shortly after they moved in, his wife succumbed to a mysterious bacterial illness. Pierce remarried and had 2 other sons, but then passed away himself soon after in 1888. Over the years, his second wife too passed away, the family fortune was frittered away, and the three sons began to fight. The son who took control of the house turned it into a boarding house, and from there, rumors abound that a prostitute was strangled to death in the famous Red Bedroom, a Finnish immigrant burned to death in the master bedroom, some believe having spontaneously combusted, that a young child was drowned in the basement, and the list goes on. Residents and visitors to the house have reported cold air, foul smells,
Oh, so it's
apparitions,
haunted,
voices, chanting, and objects
Got
being moved or even
it.
tossed across rooms. The home has been visited by TV shows including My Ghost Story, Ghost Adventure, and Ghost Hunters. So perhaps it's no surprise that the only people who wanted the old mansion were not, in fact, residents, but a group called Dark Carnival that has made the home open to the public. It's now a haunted mansion that contains a haunted house, complete with actors and illusions, if you're brave enough to go inside. New Jersey's Aubrey Lewis house. Take a look at this.
Not gonna lie to y'all, right? I had a plan to do like a Ghost Adventures type thing, but with the worst effects you could find. Like the ghosts are just me or one of the boys running around in a sheet. That's what the idea was. Give me 1 second, guys. Like it was gonna be me and the boys just put on a blanket or some shit, cut out the eye holes, run around in the woods, and chase each other down. Like the worst effects you could find. Stuff falling off the shelves, and it's just a string tied around it that you can clearly see in the video. Like the most parody ghost hunting show ever. That's it.
Montclair, New Jersey home. Big and beautiful, right? Well, it was on the market for just $10, and no one bought it. Why? This house too came with a pretty big drawback. Not only did it need to be moved, but it couldn't be moved more than a quarter mile because of its historical significance. It was previously home to Aubrey Lewis, an all-American athlete and one of the first black Americans to work for the FBI and to become an executive at a Fortune 100 company.
Oh.
3 significant achievements individually, let alone altogether. So a prospective buyer would have needed both to want the house and to live in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, no one came forward who was willing to make the move happen, even after the developers who bought the lot offered $10,000 toward the cost of moving the beautiful old house.
$10,000?
The town's Historic Preservation Commission lost out, and the historic mansion was demolished. No one wanted it, even for just $10.
I would have wanted
4.
it.
Practically free homes in European ghost towns. If you're looking...
Oh, I heard about this. So it's like rural parts of Italy and Spain, right? It's like $1 for these houses and stuff. And they'll all you have to do is like bring it up to like modern standards, which yeah, it can get pricey, but it's a full-blown house for like $1. All right, let's get back into it.
To live in a big house in a place with a shrinking population, you're in luck. Italy and England both have programs that'll sell you a home for €1 or £1 as long as you're willing to live at least 5 years in the tiny communities where the abandoned homes are based. These slightly more than $1 homes are, by and large, fixer-uppers in small towns with dwindling populations that their respective nations are hoping to revive, by luring national and international buyers to purchase the big, beautiful, but broken down buildings for very, very cheap. While some people have been tempted and have undertaken the work of fixing these houses up and moving in, there are still many more homes in towns across the United Kingdom and Italy that are standing empty and ready to be purchased, for less than the price of a cup of Starbucks coffee. While the idea sounds romantic, it is, in reality, a challenging project to undertake, and the requirement to continue living in the home for 5 years after the purchase has probably kept many who might be interested at bay. It's only fair to be nervous about committing to moving to a new small town long term. 5. The Overbacker Mansion in Kentucky. Another $1 house, this Kentucky mansion sold for $1 and then was given back to the city, then sold for just $1 again. This historic Kentucky mansion's problem isn't just that it's dilapidated, rumor has it that it's haunted. The
Of course it
spooky
is.
Romanesque style home was built in the late 1800s for a coffee merchant. It eventually became the offices for a tax business, then it was taken over by the city because of, ironically enough, unpaid taxes. The beautiful old mansion was allowed to crumble as developers tried to fix it up and failed, and it gained a look fitting the ghostly rumors that surrounded it, like that of a little boy seen staring out the window. Today, however, it has reportedly been turned into apartments, but there were many years when no one wanted it, even for $1. 6.
Hola, ¿sabías que muchos me dicen que yo no puedo invertir?
Tillamook Island Lighthouse. Another
Ooh.
large abode that couldn't be sold
Oh.
to a normal homeowner at any price is the Tillamook Island
yeah.
Lighthouse of Oregon, and it came with its own islands. This abandoned lighthouse took years and years to find a buyer, and only ultimately was sold to someone who wanted to turn it into a columbarium, a building filled with funeral urns. Why was no one interested in purchasing a private island in Oregon? Well, the island's nickname is Terrible Tilly, and it has a history littered with tales of death and hauntings. It has been, historically, almost impossible to safely visit, and it's said that the Native Americans from the area long believed that the rocky island was haunted by evil spirits. The lighthouse was constructed in
Nice.
1881 with the aim of preventing ships from crashing into the rock. Unfortunately, the lamp was not lit in time to save the Lupatia, a boat that crashed against the rock 2 weeks before the lighthouse was completed and which lost all
Indigenous
16
spirits.
souls aboard.
Great.
The columbarium was constructed there in the 1980s, but today has lost its license and is seeking buyers to aid with the cost of restoring it. It's hard to imagine paying any price, however, to own part of a rock so closely partnered with death itself. 7. Georgian revival
Erected.
homes for a grand. What if I told you you could have the 7-bedroom, 5-bathroom home for just $1,000? Pretty sweet deal, right? The only catch is that the inside is a little bit of a fixer-upper. Or, in the words of the Huffington Post, the home will need extensive and costly work done to make it livable. A glowing review. How is it possible? These dilapidated houses, of which there are many, are massive old homes, once opulent mansions, in abandoned areas of Detroit.
Not gonna lie,
This
that doesn't
Georgian
look that
revival
bad.
home, for example, is about 4,200 square feet and has a whopping 69 windows. Sure, many of these homes need extensive repairs to their electrical and plumbing systems, and when you're done, you'll live in a largely abandoned part of Detroit, but you'll be living like you're Henry Ford, and in his old neighborhood at that. The houses are regularly auctioned off by Building Detroit with bidding starting at $1,000. The home prices are kept so low because the city is prioritizing the rebuilding and repopulating of Detroit over making big money on the sale of these massive old homes. Besides, you'll need that money to overhaul the insides because these mansions might be cheap to buy, but they are in rough shape. 8. The Hex House. Another house with a chilling past, the Raymeyer Hex House in Stewartstown, Pennsylvania, belonged to Nelson Raymeyer, a traditional healer known locally as a powwow doctor, meaning he practiced faith healing and witchcraft traditions brought over by Pennsylvania Dutch settlers from Germany. Raymeyer lived
Not
in the
so
house until
fun.
1928, when a man named John H. Blymeyer, also a witch, who believed he had been hexed by Raymeyer, came to his house with 2 accomplices to demand the hex be undone. When Raymeyer refused, the 3 men beat him to death in his home. They then set the home on fire, but the house didn't burn, which locals took to be a further sign of Raymeyer's occult capabilities. The
I'm gonna
house
press
still
X to
belongs to
doubt,
descendants of
though.
Nelson Raymeyer, and they briefly opened it to the public in 2007. However, they mysteriously stopped letting people in, and today, the house seems to be abandoned and is merely a stop on the town's annual haunted hayrides. What happened that made them suddenly shutter the house's doors and windows? We may never know, but we do know that no one seems to want to live in this house.
Could probably get an
even
interview
the
with them
people that
now.
own it. 9. North Carolina's William T. Smith House. Our next house is the William T. Smith House, an abandoned mansion in North Carolina. This 4,000 square foot house,
Doesn't look
built as
too
a
good,
plantation
bud.
around 1835, sits on 2 acres of land, right next to a Civil War cemetery. Which makes sense, because the house
Even
and
worse.
surrounding area were used as a field hospital during the American Civil War, specifically around the Battle of Everasborough. Perhaps the creepy combination of plantation and field hospital have kept buyers away, as it's currently listed at just $60,000 after being abandoned some time ago and has been listed on the market for quite some time. But there are upsides to buying this old, spooky mansion. You could get a historic preservation tax credit for fixing it up. Besides, who wouldn't want to live next to a cemetery? At least the neighbors are quiet, usually. 10. The Amityville Horror House. When it comes to spine-tingling homes, the site of the Amityville Horror has to be at the top of the list. The Long Island home where 5 people were murdered in 1974, and which has since regularly been the topic of scary books and movies, has historically had a hard time selling for market price. And it's no surprise, since visitors and residents have reported oozing walls, levitations, and demonic happenings in the home. Surprisingly, someone was willing to buy the house in 2017 for just $200,000 less than the original asking price. We'll have to wait and see whether or not they end up writing a book about the experience. And there you have it. These 10 properties were all sold, or not sold, well below what their value should have been, whether because
Would y'all go for a house? Would y'all go for a house like that? Like the $1 Europe one or Italy one? Or like the $1,000 one in Detroit? Like, I would 100%, if I had the funds right now, would do it. I would. You get a house that you can rebuild and preserve for stupid cheap. The only thing is the repair costs. And even that, I mean, if you are like decent with it and cut the viable corners and still keep it safe, I mean, you could still come in under $100,000 on the repairs and stuff. Like, those seem like great deals. If you would go for one of those deals, let me know down in the comments below. Like, I'm genuinely interested. Would you go for a deal like that? Other than that, this has been the very first Reaction Tuesday. I hope to see you guys next week. Bye.